All right, the second one, here comes the intro. Just like there are heaps of articles about, for instance, HR trends every year, there are also a lot of pieces written about L&D trends. And as we find ourselves already, I don't know how that happened, in the second half of 2024, I thought it would be a nice moment to have a debate about one of the L&D trends that was predicted for this year. According to an article by Training Industry, this is the year in which learning leaders are going to be held accountable to business objectives, not just participation. In an uncertain economy, the pressure is on L&D leaders to make sure their programs have a clear impact on the business. The company's C-suite wants to know that its L&D programs are aligned with the company's current strategic goals and objectives, and more importantly, that they are contributing to these goals and supporting the company's long-term growth initiatives. And so, according to the same article, this year, 2024, L&D leaders should focus on communicating and highlighting tangible ROI benefits of employee development. And they give a few examples, such as revenue from sales directly attributed to L&D, savings from retention as a result of L&D, and savings from promoting within the organization. This sounds like a great objective, but is it feasible? If there's one thing that I've personally been hearing for quite some years now, it is that proving the ROI of learning isn't that easy. It's a topic that's been much talked about as well. But perhaps this is going to be the year in which all of that changes. So here comes then our second statement. In 2024, L&D leaders will demonstrate the ROI of employee development and be held accountable to business objectives. All right, Alex, I'm going to start with you this time around. Do you vote yes or do you vote no?
I actually have an interesting opinion about this. So let's go for no, actually.
Thank you. Deb, what do you vote?
I vote yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, Alex, let's hear it. I'm very keen to hear your.
I've started my career in working with sales closely, and all I've been hearing about is how do we demonstrate the ROI of L&D on what we train people and so on. And I think that also assumes that we are not already working against the business objectives. So when it comes to measurement of learning, there are several ways you can measure reaction, knowledge, behavior, and then ROI. And ROI measuring actually requires efforts in itself to be measured, because you would need control groups of different learners that are passing through something else to prove the value. So I think we should also be business savvy about this and understand, do we want the lead or the lag measure for learning? Lead means that you can measure the coaching hours, the quality of the training, reactions, and so on, understanding, hey, is it learning we're developing, we've said yes to it, is it good quality? And then we can understand if we really need to, we can dig deeper if we want to really isolate ROI from learning. Because how are we going to know if the product is being sold? Is it because we did better with managers? Or is it because there was a marketing campaign around it and so on? So you would need to add extra effort there. I think the point should be, is the quality of what we're delivering and is it the right thing? Mostly what we want to dip into. And then if we look at product training, you can really easily measure, are people being able to sell more or not? And there are some instances where this is very easy to measure. But I feel in other cases, because we are constantly trying to yell that we are worth it and we should be there, and to isolate that piece, we sometimes want a much larger exercise around ROI. And so I do think we should measure our impact. But I don't think that the lag measures such as retention and revenue and so on can be only directly linked to learning. This will be connected. This will be one of many factors that will influence. So I do think it's important we also are clear on what do we measure, what do we not measure, and where are we going to spend time and actually invest money from people and resources to prove the ROI, to prove that we're worth it, which would take more time anyway. So obviously I had like a lot of grudge here from years of proving the point around this. But I would say I love data and I use it a lot for this purpose. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now and over to you, Deb.
I hear you. I hear you. I also hear a little bit of skirting around the accountability that we need to have as learning leaders and as business leaders. I think we need to see ourselves as business leaders. So yes, we need to really, decide on what we're measuring and how we're measuring, and make sure that we're focusing our efforts on the things that are going to provide value, and that's going to give us that data. So I agree with you there. I think if we go back to the question in terms of this will be the year that L&D leaders will need to demonstrate ROI. I think we've been asked this for, the last 20 years that I've been in the industry. It's every year. I think for me, what this year, and I guess based on my experiences, we've been, as an L&D leader, I've been asked to think like a business leader, and I'm involved in those strategic conversations around the business and how do we, what are the objectives of the business and how do we work together, and what does my organization contribute and how are we contributing to those business objectives? And that conversation, yes, it is time that L&D leaders are involved in that and are driving some of those conversations. That then cascades into, okay, what are we doing and what are we measuring? But the days of L&D being disconnected and not part of these strategic conversations, I think that era has ended, and we can't afford to not really be involved in those other conversations.
Yeah, I agree also with that part. My personal experience was that I've never had my L&D department questioned because people were seeing value. I feel the question around where's the value would come when people are not sure where the value is. At least that was my experience. I have to say, working in staffing, I realized something very interesting is that our people are our product. So learning then has to play a central role in engagement and talent and retention and onboarding. And I never thought about that before coming into this industry. And as such, it really feels like a driving seat as well. So you can't be there's no way you can sit on the sideline of the business, where in other organizations you can easily actually be a function that sits on the side. So interesting perspectives.
Yeah, definitely interesting perspectives. And from an outsider perspective, so what I'm hearing is two main things. Correct me if I'm wrong. I hear on the one hand that, so basically the time for us in L&D to not step up and take that responsibility. Those days are over. So in that sense, all right, yes, 2024 should be the year. But on the other hand, I hear something that I find very interesting as well. It's that when we say, okay, we are going to measure ROI, then as Alex mentioned, we need to also realize that will ask investment, not just investment financially speaking, but also in terms of people's time and energy that we're going to actually put into that. So from that regard, I would say, does that then mean that what you see happen now often is that basically people don't take that second step? So they will be saying, okay, yes, we need to measure ROI of our learning initiatives, but when it comes to then basically taking action and saying, all right, that means that we need to do this and this and this and this, because otherwise we cannot even measure that doesn't happen. Am I correct if I say that?
I would say that you have to make an active effort to collect learning data. That's not from an LMS. So if you don't do that as a leader, you really have nothing to show except for, we've done these programs, this is completed and so on. So I, for example, like to collect the hours invested in different things, from coaching hours to someone, and I have with the team like a structure that they log this, because then I want to look how many people have received how many coaching hours. Is this where I want to focus the team? How much time do we spend on projects? And then I can look also at quality and bring that then to the table. I don't think that we as a function have been taught to do that from the start. That's not where you kind of start with learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I also think that it's easy to stop at sort of measuring at a certain point and say, well, we're demonstrating our value. Look how many people came to this course. Look how many, hours, or look at how many courses we're delivering, or things like that. So it is, on the one hand, it is easier to stop at that point, and to really move beyond that requires you to be embedded in the business, understand where the business is going, and really align your goals and what you're measuring with that. And that requires an accountability that we'll come back to. If you're not delivering, if you're not meeting those that return, then there's consequences, and that sometimes that's a vulnerable place to put yourself in as a leader. You need to step up into that. And I do agree, not everyone, or, you know, it's L&D traditionally has been content with getting to a certain level.
Yeah. Would you have, I mean, you've both been in this space for quite some time, and I see you as very experienced in what you're doing. So would you have any, let's say, guidance for people who are listening perhaps in L&D? Because I do understand that this is not necessarily something that you are being equipped with from the get-go when you start in this space. So would you have any guidance for people on how to get started, or on where to go or what to do?
I mean, from my perspective, is pair up with business leaders and, you know, experiment and look at what are other parts of the business measuring and how are they figuring it out, and, you know, learning from that business perspective. I think that's the ultimate sort of like learning on the job, figuring it out with your business peers. I think that would be my first go-to.
Alex?
From my side, I think it's about figuring your learning model in a way. Like, how do you as a learning, because I think I've worked now in, I don't know how many companies at this point, maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. We'll check that later. I don't remember fully now. But each organization has such a distinct learning, not only culture, but learning need, right? And if I look at it now, I would say there is a part of where I need to have standard programs that I can measure with quality metrics and things like that. I do have a lot of learning requests, and I've created a ticketing system where we count what are the requests we've been getting, and that helps employees feel they can reach out to someone, and we can then collate different requests into products. So I almost have standard programs, production line, and then my role is to facilitate, for example, strategy planning, and I could really understand because I have the information where we do need to blend in as a team. So then that kind of informs the rest of the programs. So then kind of the business understands where we sit, where we deliver value. And then I ask my team that they monthly report on which is a relatively easy thing to do. It's just a template that they need to fill out every month around the number of coaching hours. It doesn't have to be perfect, the data, but it is about coaching hours, number of training participants, projects open, closed, and so on. And we can then understand actually how much effort we put in as well, aside from just measuring programs. Another way that we test some programs for data perspective is just that we pilot them in different markets and then understand how we need to tweak things and so on. And I'm adding a piece now that is around accreditations, which is we don't really always measure fully the learning, and we don't always use assessments as a key piece. And we have now, for our onboarding, it's really critical because we take new people. We have defined 10 accreditations, and people have to pass them in their onboarding. And the last one is, for example, with an AI role play that assesses your skill, and you can able to talk to someone, and that really tests these 3 levels of learning assessment: the knowledge, the behavior, and it gives you an opportunity to apply and change. So those are the things that already build into the data of some of the programs. So if this onboarding goes well, I'll tell you more about it. But I think so far it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So using AI, we do have a lot of data, understanding how people are performing, where are they, when it comes to the skill itself, not the overall effectiveness of the learning organization, just to separate that. Yeah.
Well, thank you both. I think that combined, we've got a nice, let's say, starter kit for people to really get started with that.